Good morning, students. How are you all? Hope everybody is doing fine in health and spirit. Today's topic is more oriented for practical classes. It is important a little bit for theory as well. So before going for the theory and the practical diagrams and all that, first, as usual, I'd like to share a beautiful diagram. Hope you like it. Time, friends, health, and relations don't come with a price tag. But when we lose them, then we realize the things. I think Corona has taught us the real value of all these words, isn't it? So let's proceed for the topic today. So today I'll be discussing histology of salivary glands. In the general histology, I had taught you the glands proper. So that time I told you different types of glands, how to classify the glands, and that time I had given you some examples as well. Okay. So particularly because we are discussing head and neck, I'll be dealing with the histology of head and neck sections. So here comes the salivary glands histology. Okay. So what are the SLOs we'll be going for? We'll be learning different types of salivary glands, their structural framework, and what are the applied importance. And I'll be teaching you how to draw the acini of the glands as well. Okay. So let's proceed. To introduce the topic, salivary glands are compound tubulo-alveolar exocrine glands. That means what you understand? It's a compound gland because partly tubular, partly alveolar, and moreover it is an exocrine gland. That means it has duct system. Okay. So these ducts open into the oral cavity to release the saliva. So salivary means it will be releasing the saliva. So all of you, I think you already know, here lies the parotid gland, here lies the submandibular gland, and here lies the sublingual glands. Okay. Besides that also, there are some areas where you get small salivary glands. Okay. It is mostly what it does, saliva. It helps by providing aqueous solvent necessary for taste, a fluid seal for sucking and suckling. Now there's a little difference between what is sucking, what is just seep through. Suckling is the word which is used for newborn babies, okay? Suckling of the breast milk. And lubricates the food to assist deglutition, assist in speech by moistening the buccal mucosa. Naturally, for us also, if you take a class for longer period, what we do? We drink some water to proceed forwards. Okay, so that is moistening the buccal mucosa. So salivary glands also secrete salivary amylase, very important. Then immunoglobulin A, lysozyme, and lactoferrin. All these are very important for digestion as well. Okay, so this is the importance of saliva. So what are the different types? That is, number one is the parotid, okay, which is almost serous. So I wrote almost, every word has some meaning. Almost serous means mostly you will get serous acina. Only a very few numbers you will get mucous acina here. So no glands are completely serous or completely mucous. Okay. So little bit there will be either mucous acini in parotid or there will be some amount of serous acina in the other. So submandibular comes under mixed variety, and where actually you get around 40 to 60% difference serous and mucus. And sublingual also comes under mixed variety, but this one is predominantly mucus. That means almost 80% mucus, 20% serous is and whatever serous cells are present, they are almost seen like the serous denillin. What is serous denillin? I'll be discussing in a few minutes. Okay. Now, besides this, numerous minor salivary glands are found, as I told you, scattered throughout the oral mucosa and submucosa. And there is one word called xerostomia. What is xerostomia? Significant decrease in saliva production. It may lead to periodontal inflammation and dental caries. Okay, so the saliva has a lot to do in preventing infection of the oral cavities. Understood? Okay, please remember the word xerostomia. Okay, do you know what is dental caries? Yeah, I guess. Gone. When we were small, used to say, no, don't eat too much of chocolate. You'll have insects. There is no insects actually. So now we are big enough, we know that very well now. So come to the structural organization. So to know the structural organization, what we have, it has three components. Number one is the parenchyma, that is the cells of the secretory nature. Then these cells are mostly tubular alveolar type, which the other name is called racemosome. Okay? Racemosome. That is partly tubular, partly alveolar. Secretory elements are referred to as end pieces or portio terminalis. Portio means part, terminal part, that means. Okay, so, or in English it is end pieces. That means a duct will finish. Okay, suppose this is the duct, this is the tubular part, and this is the rounded or pear shaped. This is the acina. Okay, this part is the acina. This is the duct. That's why it is called. And these ducts will have branching. So that's why it is a compound tubular alveolar. Okay. Now another word I like you people to know is the salivum or salivum, you can say. Basic secretory unit, which includes acini, intercalated duct and excretory duct. So all these three together is called salivum, or you can pronounce it salivum. So a gland may be homocrine or heterocrine. So same type, if it is secreted, it is homocrine. If different types are secreted, then heterocrine. Okay. So what I suggest is that before going through this topic, or after going through this topic, you can go through my previous note on glands from general histology. So it will do a lot of help to you. Okay. So next point after parenchyma is the stroma. Stroma means the structural kernel. Okay, what it consists of? It consists of connective tissue, and all these complete gland will be surrounded by a capsule, mostly. Okay, that's where it is written as may be present. And what will happen from the capsule? Suppose this is the capsule, there will be some subterranean layer. Okay, some subterranean layer from the capsule, and it will divide into areas. What are those areas called? Those are called lobes, and lobes will be again divided into lobes. I usually give the example of districts and mandals and all. Suppose one state is divided, this whole state has a boundary, that is the capsule. Then the state will be divided into two districts. Again, districts will be divided into mandals. Why it is divided? To have a better organization, better administration. So similarly here also, the blood supply, nerve supply, or the secretion, whatever is produced, it will be secreted there. Okay, the function of the gland will be proper. So the blood vessels, lymphatics, and nerves are found within. It has to be, because if it is not supplied by nerves, how the acina will function or how the ducts will function. And again, to get the nutrition, blood vessels has to be there, lymphatics has to be there, isn't it? And another structure, that is the adipose tissue. So adipose tissue, it depends. In some glands it will be more, in some glands it will be less, but it will be present to some extent. So we finished with parenchyma, that is the secretory unit. Then we finished with the connective tissue part. Next comes the duct system. So as the salivary glands are exocrine glands, that means it has a duct system. So in a very simplified manner now I'll tell you, later on in details I'll discuss. So secretory acini will directly go to the intercalated duct. Okay. The first smallest duct is the intercalated duct, and so they are lined by simple squamous or simple epithelium, cuboidal epithelium. Here I have brought this slide like a flowchart. I want you all to practice that way. and that will help you in viva. Please remember, that will help you in viva. Okay, so these intercalated duct, they will collect the saliva and it will drain to striated duct. Striated ducts are cuboidal or low columnar. You see, in the beginning, it was a flat cell, flat to cuboidal. Then the height of the cell has increased. You saw the caliber of the duct has increased and the height of the cell also has increased. Why it is called striated? Because the basal part of the cell show vertical striations. I'll show you in the end of the class and details. Now from the striated duct, it will go to intralobar. That means within the lobe. Okay, intralobar. Then from the intralobar, it will go to interlobular. That means in between the lobe. Now the type of cell has changed into simple columnar. Okay, that means the height of the cell has increased. Okay, you notice that. So from interlobular, it became lobar. Okay, then lobar ducts, many multiple lobes, they will ultimately drain into the main duct. Okay, so these larger ducts are mostly stratified. Simple squamous to cuboidal, then it became cuboidal low columnar, then it became simple columnar, then it became stratified. Stratified columnar or pseudostratified. Understood? So as the size of the duct, the caliber will increase, the height of the cell also will increase. That means the duct will become bigger. Understood? So this is a beautiful picture from Gray's Anatomy. You can see these are the serous secretory entities or the acini. Okay, you can see the cells, and here some myoepithelial cells, and here you are seeing how the myoepithelial cells encircle the acini. Okay, myoepithelial cells are the small muscle fibers will be there. They will help to secrete. They will help in secretion. I'll discuss in details. Then this serous demilum as seen in the routine histological sections. Then you can see the blood vessels and the nerves here. Okay, and you can go through this slide for a while to understand the physiology part. I'm not going into details about the physiology part. Then beside whatever I had discussed just now, parenchyma, then stroma, and the duct system, what are the other features? Like here, as I said, parotid is almost serous. Okay, parotid is almost serous. That means very few or negligible mucous acini in there. In one duct section, you may not get also any, or you might see one or two. Mucous units are rare, as I told you, and adipose tissue, that is the adipocytes, are numerous in this gland. Okay. Then comes the serous demilum. I've been saying just now demilum. So these are called demilums of Hayden-Henn or crescents of Giannuzzi. So Hayden-Henn and Giannuzzi are the scientists who have discovered this. They are found mostly in the sublingual and submandibular glands, that is the mixed variety, in regular histological preparation. Okay, but actually those are artifacts. I have a separate slide to show that. So these are not real things. These are just artifacts, that means not real histological structures. Then coming to mucous cells. Mucous cells are usually cylindrical and have flattened basal nuclei because the apical cytoplasm will be packed with large pale staining electrode translucent droplets. So the mucus, whichever will be present in the cytoplasm, they'll push the cytoplasm, the nucleus towards the basement side. Okay, so a typical ring shape. You can see ring. Okay, typical signet ring appearance. You remember like you have in the adipocyte. Here, what you have, total cell will look whitish, pale stain, because the mucus present, they will be pale stain, and this nucleus will be sent to basement. Okay, flattened nucleus. Serous acini, approximately pyramidal in shape, and nuclei are rounded and placed less basally. Okay, so as I told you, in mucus acini, the nucleus is pushed to the basal side. Here, it is rounded nucleus, but a little towards the basement, but pyramidal in shape. Now, here something important in serous acini, the apical cytoplasm is filled with zymogen granules with high amylase activity. Okay, and because of this zymogen granules, this area will look reddish or dark pink because it is eosinophilic. So it will take eosinophilic stain. But what happens? These in periodic acid skip stain, there is a special stain. Um, it will show positive reaction. Okay, because of the presence of the zymogen granules. And why it shows positive reaction? Because presence of carbohydrate. So it indicates the presence of carbohydrate. Okay. But rest of the cytoplasm is basophilic due to cell organelles. Understood? Only the apical part will be pinkish to reddish area and eosinophilic, but rest of the cytoplasm will be basophilic. Okay, little purplish to bluish color because of the presence of the cell organelles. Okay. Now, because of that, this serous acini will show double staining. I have a big, very nice picture after this slide. You will see that and you will understand better. And beside all this, it also secretes kallikrein, lactoferrin, and lysozyme. Look, few things I've been saying. These are important for Viva. Okay, once you get the slide, suppose you get parotid slide or you get submandibular gland slide or sublingual. It is not that they'll ask you only about the parotid or whatever slide you get. They'll ask you if you get one, they'll ask you about the other two salivary glands. Okay, so what they secrete and why all this, what about the staining part, everything they will be asking you. Okay, so to this topic is very important practically and very basic. Okay, so please listen to the class carefully and any doubt you can ask me later. So can you notice this slide now? So this is the pyramidal shaped cell and this is the nucleus with the RER here, Golgi complex, and these are the secretory granules. Okay, so because of the secretory granules containing zymogen, they will take more of eosin color. So this area, apical area is looking pinkish, but rest of the cell, because of the cell organelles. What are the cell organelles? All the ribosomes and all others, Golgi and mitochondria, nucleus, all those, because of that, it will take more of basophilic color. Okay, basophilic color. Now, that's why it is not exactly in the center, but it is somewhat towards the basal side. But what happens in the mucus gland, mucus, there will be full of mucus here covering the almost the total area of the cell cytoplasm, and it will push the nucleus to the periphery. Okay, it will push the nucleus to the periphery. Okay, so it looks checked up, okay, flat. But here pyramidal cell with a rounded nucleus in serous acini. Is it clear? So this is a diagram which I want you all to draw also. I'll be sending the picture in the group again because we could not have the live class today. So this is for the serous acini. So you observe properly. This is the capsule you can see here, and these are the trabeculae which is making connective tissue septa. So in the septa you will have blood vessels, you will have nerves, and you also have ducts. And usually these ducts are bigger ducts, interlobar ducts. You can see. Okay, and this is one area of the lobule. This is another area. This is another area. So here you can see this is the intercalated duct, all cuboidal epithelium. While these are the striated ducts. You can see line on the basal side. These are the striated ducts. In between, these are the serous acini. Okay. What is the importance of serous acini? This lumen will be very small because the pyramidal cell you can see and the nuclei are almost in the center or towards the basal. Okay, in between the center and basal, but lumen will be very small. Okay, very small. Pinhead size. If you see in the slide, it will be pinhead size to 1 millimeter only. Okay, so this is how you have to draw, and here you can see the signet ring appearance, adipocytes. Adipocytes. As I told you, in parotid gland there will be lot of adipocytes. So here only a few, one or two mucous gland you may be able to see. So here you can see zymogen granules dot dot dot. Okay, in the apical area. All these are serous. Okay, all these are serous acini, and in the surrounding the serous acini, there are myoepithelial cells. And what is myo means muscles. So these are thin cells which will help to secrete the gland. Okay, and the secretion will come into the lumen. So all these are ducts. Please don't confuse the ducts with the serous acini. This is a duct lined by cuboidal epithelium, but these are all acini. These are all acini. This is one myoepithelial cell. This is one myoepithelial cell. Okay. Please label the adipocytes also. Okay. You have to draw this diagram. Coming to the mixed varieties are also called seromucous. Why seromucous? Because it is partly serous, partly mucus. I told you, it may be 40-60 around like in submandibular gland, or it may be 80 to 20%, somewhat like that. More of mucus, that means predominantly mucus in sublingual gland. Okay, so you can see here, this is the lining epithelium, this is the main duct, and multiple branching is happening here. This is the tubular part, this is the acini part. So these are the mucous acini and these are the serous acini. Usually the serous acini will be looking smaller compared to the mucous acini. Okay, and the mucous acini, it will be more pale staining, as I told you before, and serous acini will be more of double staining, that is partly eosinophilic and partly hematoxylin, that is the basophilic state. So it will be like light purple to violetish color like that, right? And here this will be very pale. Okay, so that's how you have to identify. So this is a nice diagram, very shortcut. This also you have to draw, as I told you. 3 slides you have to draw. One is parotid, one is submandibular, one is sublingual. Okay, for the histology record book. So this is the connective tissue area. So in the connective tissue area, you can see the capillary, you can see arterial, and this is the duct with the cuboidal epithelium. Okay, this is another duct. And within the lobule, these are the small ducts, intercalated ducts. And here this dark area, which is more purplish area is the serous acini. And this round, look at the lumen. This is a huge lumen comparatively, isn't it? Compared to the previous. Can you see the lumen in the serous? Very small. So the serous acini, this is also again the serous area. You hardly can see the lumen. I said no, pinhead size almost. So comparatively, the lumen in the mucous acini are very big. And the mucous acini, always remember, will be having a cap. So it is like a crescent shape area which is called serous demilui. I have a separate slide. I'll be explaining you very soon. So serous demilui. So it will be like here. This is the mucous area, and there will be a crescent shape like this surrounding the mucous acini. Understood? Understood? Okay. Clear now? So that's why this is mixed gland. Partly serous, partly mucous. Okay. And this is the excretory duct, because huge duct, and you see the epithelium here, you get double. So stratified epithelium. So stratified epithelium means it is a excretory duct, bigger, larger duct. Okay. This is sorry. So this is intercalated ducts. Okay. And these are interlobar ducts, or these are excretory ducts. Yeah. So there is a slide where you can see like how it looks in the histology preparation under the microscope. Okay. All these whatever I was showing you are schematic diagrams. So here you can see the blood vessels. This is the vascular area. These are the serous acini. These are the serous acini. It will look more of purplish to violetish color. Okay, serous acini. You hardly can see the lumen. You see the lumen here, very tiny. Okay, this is a duct. This is also a duct. This is a bigger brachytherapy stratified. This is a smaller duct. Okay. Now same here duct, but look at the mucous acini. It's very pale. Okay. What is dark here is the serous demilune. Serous demilune means these are the serous acini, which is surrounding the mucous acini. And look at the lumen here. It's very big. The lumen here very big. Here also. Okay. So this is how, like I tell every year in the class, mucus gland, the slide, it looks as if you put some syrup in water and you take the bubbles. How it looks like, in a tub, exactly I feel like that. As soon as you see, I wish you were here. Anyway, whenever you come, I'll show you. So it feels like that as soon as you see the slide. And while the other slides mixed variety, partly serous, partly mucus, that is the submandibular one, 40-60 as I told you. And serous, like carotid, there will be ducts in between and it will be more like purplish violet-ish. Okay, you do not see pale areas like this. Okay. Now here comes the serous demilune. And as I told you in the previous slide, what is serous demilune? Serous means these are the serous acini which are found along with the mucous acini in the mixed variety. Okay, and in the mixed variety, especially in the sublingual one, where the mucous cells are more and very few serous acini are there the serous demilune are seen in maximum. But these are actually not real histological structures. They are artifacts. What artifacts? Actually, what happens? See here now. These are the mucous acini. These are the serous acini. It is not looking like a demilune now. This is actually specialistic. How it is done? I'm telling you. So these are artifacts of chemical fixation. Okay. Now, when the serous demilune are seen, these are observed in mixed salivary glands, both in light and electron microscope in routine fixing method. That means what we do in our college or regular Johor type. Okay, in routine fixing method. So what happens here? This whatever reagent we take, so they will in that what happens? This mucous acini, they will be showing to the in regular fixing method, that is routine fixing method, the fixing reagent what we take is the formalin, isn't it? So what happens? This fixative causes swelling of the mucinesin granules in the mucus secreting cells. So this pushes the nucleus of the cell towards the basal lamina. And this, under the pressure of the mucinesin granules, becomes flattened, as I told you just now. So these swollen mucus cells also push the pyramidal shaped serous cells towards the periphery of the acinus. Okay. So what happens? It appears as if the mucus acini is having crescentic shaped cap, or what you say, the serous demilune of the serous cell. Okay. But what happens? This is not seen in case of special staining. That is called the rapid fixation method. Okay. So in rapid fixation method, serous demilune is not observed because it preserves the tissue with minimal alteration in its morphology as well as chemical composition. So in this slide, you are not seeing any cap over the mucus cell. So you are seeing same size of mucus acini and same size of serous. Okay. Here also, here the serous acini inlet, it is looking like a pyramidal cell inlet. Here also, isn't it? Okay, now. So that is the real truth of serous demilune. Why I have brought a separate slide about serous demilune? Because I've seen every time in VIDA, you've been asked about serous demilune, and I hope this batch can speak nicely about serous demilune. Okay. Next, come to the sublingual gland picture. So this is predominantly mucus. So you can see this is one mucus. This is all whitish. It is looking, isn't it? Pale light pink color you have to put when you draw. This is the connective tissue septa with the ducts. This is interlobular duct, and this is another intercalated duct within this composition. And here you can see some cells already. Okay, okay. These are the myoepithelial cell, and this is the serous lumen here. Okay, you'll be seeing like that. So you have to draw these three slides: parotid, submandibular, and sublingual. Okay. Now coming to duct system, I told you in a flowchart duct system. Just I want to discuss with this diagram first, then we'll go for the theory part. Okay, a little bit you should know regarding, because you'll be asked in Viva. So suppose this is the parotid duct now. This is the main excretory duct. Okay, so this is one area. This is one area we have taken. We have selected. This is the acinus. And acinus has come out, it is poured the secretion into the intercalated duct. Then it will come like this, okay? Then striated duct. So these are interlobular ducts. So all these ducts, ultimately this is interlobular duct. Striated duct will be mentioned here also, as I told you. So this is one interlobular. There will be multiple lobules. Then ultimately they will join into the lower ducts. Then lower ducts will join into main excretory ducts. As I told you about the cell change, this is how. Okay. So this is intercalated with simple squamous to cuboidal, then striated with the basal striations. You can see with the low columnar or cuboidal. Then it has become interlobular. It has become pseudostratified to columnar. Then it has become main excretory duct is stratified. Okay. This is one diagram to show you the basal striations of the striated duct. These basal striations are nothing but plasma infoldings from the basal side. When it is from the apical side, it is called villi or microvilli like that. So microvilli. Okay. If it is basal, then basal infoldings, and in between the infoldings there will be mitochondria. Okay, and mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell, as you know about that. So, around 1 or 2 lines each have added to the duct system. Intercalated and flat nearest to the epiphysis. Epiphysis means the alveoli or acini. Okay. Some people once asked me what is the difference between acini and alveoli. Actually, acini are like this rounded bulb type, and alveoli are told to the pear-shaped cells. Some books it is mentioned the same thing. Okay. They are conduit for saliva, also modify electrolyte content and secrete immunoglobulin A. Okay. Then striated ducts, low columnar to cuboidal, highly infolding basal plasma membrane with columns of vertically aligned mitochondria in each. They transport potassium and bicarbonate into the saliva by reabsorbing sodium and chloride ions in excess of water. Okay. They also secrete immunoglobulin A, kallikrein, and lysozyme. Okay. So this diagram you can see here sodium and chloride ions. You can see lysozyme, kallikrein, potassium. I don't want to go into details because it will take a lot of time. So you can go through this and understand what are the things. Okay. Then, as you know, it will be continuing with the intralobular ducts. Intralobular ducts of sublingual are less well developed than compared to the parotid and submandibular gland. Okay. So interlobular ducts, they will go to the lobular ducts and collecting ducts. So these are the bigger ducts, larger ducts, metabolically inert conduit and run within interlobular connective tissue septa, transport saliva to main duct which opens into the mucosal surface of buccal cavity. Okay. You have here, there is a parotid duct opening. If anybody experienced measles in your childhood, or anybody experienced mumps during your teenhood or whatever, So when there is measles, they'll mostly see the opening of the parotid tract, whether it is inflamed or not in the buccal cavity. So these are some clinical signs. When I discuss parotid gland in gross depth, I'll discuss in details. Okay. Now coming to the epithelium of the collecting ducts, varies from pseudostratified to stratified columnar or stratified cuboidal in larger ducts, while stratified non-keratinous squamous at buccal orifice, because buccal mucosa is stratified. Stratified non-keratinous squamous epithelium. Okay. So because of that, the last part of the excretory duct or the main duct will be stratified, that opening area. Okay. So I have discussed the parenchyma. I have discussed the stroma. I have told you about the duct system, how from the end pieces, that is the acini or alveolar or the tubular part, will secrete the saliva to the intercalated duct, and the intercalated duct will bring it to the striated. Striated will go to the intralobular, and intralobular will bring it to the interlobular, then lobar, okay, then to the main duct. Now you have seen the importance of myoepithelial cells. As I told you, it will help the acini or alveoli or the tubular part to secrete the saliva into the duct. Okay, myo means what? Muscle area. Myoepithelial cells. So these are contractile cells associated with secretory end pieces and much of the duct system. Okay. So usually lie between the basal lamina and the epithelial cells. Okay, very fine muscle cells, smooth muscle. Extend numerous cytoplasmic processes around the serous acini, and they are also called as basket cell because it will be like this. Okay, this is suppose acini, they will hold the acini like this. So they are also called basket cells. Okay. Those of the ducts are more fusiform in shape and contain active microfilaments that may aid the contraction under the autonomic nervous system. Okay, so everything is autonomic nervous system. The all glands, I tell you beforehand also, glands are supplied to autonomic nerves, sympathetic and parasympathetic, isn't it? Suppose now I bring a plate of biryani, automatically saliva will start secreting, isn't it? So that's what this is all supplied by sympathetic and parasympathetic autonomic nervous system. Okay. So this brings to the last part of the today's class. No class is over till I don't teach you the clinical part, isn't it? So clinics, number one, mumps. Did anybody experience mumps? That is nothing but swelling of the parotid gland. Very painful actually. And because parotid is highly supplied by nerves, and it's very tightly packed. And that's why if there is swelling, it's a viral disease. Okay. Next, come to parotid tumors. This is a pleomorphic adenoma. This is benign, that means not cancerous. Okay. So any tumor develops in a gland, it is called adenoma. Please remember that. Okay. Oma means tumor. Adenoma means parenchymal enlargement. Tumors happening in the parenchyma. That is called adenoma. Okay. Then there may be stone or calculi in the duct. It may be either parotid, submandibular, or sublingual. I'll be showing you a picture, an X-ray of this. So suppose there is a stone, the secretions are not proper, okay, and that stone will be developed there, and that will block further drainage of the saliva into the buccal cavity. So ultimately there will be swelling of the gland, there will be severe pain of the gland, okay, and ultimately the person has to take medicine, and sometimes it might require surgery as well. Next comes the ranula. Okay, I actually was searching for the photograph I had somewhere, I could not get it. next class I'll surely show you. Renula is actually here, just below the tongue. There is a tumor type structure you see. Once you lift up the tongue, you will see there is a small swelling there. That is called renula. So next, the X-ray for doing the seeing the, especially it is done for tumor and stone and calculi of salivary gland, is called xylogram. Okay, xylogram. Radiograph will show the duct system mostly, if there is any blockage or anything else happening. Next, another clinical disease or syndrome you can say is called Fray syndrome. This is the scientist who found out this. And what happens in Fray syndrome? There will be sweating, worm, and redness as a result of salivary stimulation of smell or taste of food. So sometimes this is in details I'll tell you in therapy plan this class. Okay. So what happens? This area suddenly, if, as I told you again, some very nice flavored food has come nearby, that person who's having Fray syndrome, suddenly this area will start sweating. It will become worm and it will become reddened. Okay, because this complete salivary glands are supplied by sympathetic and parasympathetic. Okay, understood? So these three things, sweating, worm, and redness, okay, because of salivary stimulation, that is found in person. So this is a picture called xylogram. Here actually not very clear. You can see the duct here. This is the gland and this duct is coming like this here. So this helps to find out if there is any stone or calculi or any other problem with that. Okay. So please remember this is a picture called xylogram or xylograph. If you are asked what is xylograph or xylogram, you say that this is a radiograph to show the duct system of the salivary glands. Okay. So, what I have discussed today, we discussed the salivary glands. Okay. So, mostly I have discussed the histology part today. We have come to know that there are three salivary glands: parotid, submandibular, and sublingual. And all the salivary glands have three components. We have the parenchyma, that is the secreting unit, and then we have the connective tissue part, and we have the duct system. Okay, and I have told you how the serous acini, how the mucus acini. I also told you about serous denudin. It is nothing but an artifact. And then I told you about the myoepithelial cells and how it helps secretion of the end pieces into the duct system. And some myoepithelial cells are also found around the duct systems. And then I told you about the transport. Okay. Hope you have understood the class and please practice the diagrams and be well prepared for the Viva. Be well. Thank you.